Hey, what's up YouTube, Scabadger here, and we're back on day 29 of our 100 player Isolation Van game series. I wasn't sure I'd ever get back to recording this, however it appears I have found the time. With that said, we are now on day 29, and this is pretty much the cleanup phase of the game. The only real opponents we have left are the Australian and New Zealand players, as well as the North Americans and South Americans, and that's what we're dealing with here. We can see that we're grouping troops up, and we're grouping these up to send them to North America. We are going to attack the East Coast, while our Middle Eastern allies, and we'll see that in a second, are going to attack the West Coast in Alaska. Even if I'm not sure, is Alaska actually the West Coast? Do they call it that? Anyway, they're going to attack the west side of America. We can see that right here. Torp, Iraq, is sending a lot of SP artillery up to bomb out a very large stack of Ontario's troops. We're very fortunate that Torpedo is a lot more active than Ontario, so he's able to deal a lot of damage here really easily. He also has some very high quality SP arty, which gives him a solid advantage over his enemy. And in those large amount of numbers, you just chew through enemy units. And we'll see in the next couple of days that that's going to advance and push all the way in. As we can see, we've now got to that point and we have managed to jump over the coast. Fortunately, or unfortunately for our allies, air superiority isn't quite there yet. We need to work on our airbase network, but we're getting there slowly. We are also sending our troops down to invade Florida and land in Miami. However, I believe our troops actually get tar-pitted by a sub on the way down, but we are able to save them. So, yeah, at the moment, they look okay, but I believe next time we check up on them, there'll be a little bit more damage. This is just because I was in a rush to keep up. Our allies advanced southwards faster than we expected. So in order to keep up, I had to leave them unescorted to get there faster. So, as you can see, we're here later on, a few less troops, a little bit damaged, and yeah, that's why, because we left them unescorted. These were the escorts that were meant to be assigned to them. However, we're sending them back to group up with another fleet now that the threat's dealt to. East Brazil still has a massive navy, and we expected him to try stop us, especially from invading in the north. However, he never got round to it. That's also the reason why we invaded North America, not South. East Brazil, massive navy, easier to go north to south. But he didn't use it as much as we expected, and we believe by this point in the game that he's probably actually started to go inactive. However, we still do have a few skirmishes left, and we have to deal with his fleet. So we're now jumping forwards 4 days later, and this is pretty much the last of the footage I have for the North American conflict. We can see that at this point most of North America is settled. The North Mexico player still controls a fair amount of territory, and we'll come to cleaning that up in the coming days. However, at this point, we need to make sure we can stabilize the morale in Florida to ensure we don't lose the land. So in this version of the game, we're building fortifications and infrastructure to increase that, and you can see that we're doing that right now. Under normal circumstances, I wouldn't be too concerned about this land rebelling. However, it's the end game, so I want to hold on to as much of it as possible. So that is the last little bit of footage I have for the North America area. We're now going to shimmy on down south, and we're going to have a look at what's happening down there. So we'll jump back a few days, and as you can see, we're gearing up and we're sending our navy over to start dealing with those East Brazil ships. Dealing with those is a massive problem. Currently he has more ships than we do, so we're not going to be able to invade until we deal with them. So as you can see, we're grouping subs up. The idea is subs kind of scout it out, and then we can send our ships in to hit them hard. He doesn't have too many naval bombers, so he's going to have a hard time seeing them. As he wasn't active, I opted for the option of using rockets. We had rockets stationed for defense. However, considering our enemy wasn't coming to us anymore, I put those into an offensive role. So that was about 9 or so rockets fired off at one of the fleets. And it didn't do quite as much damage as we would have hoped. With that damage done, we were also at the same time trying to hunt down his submarines. His battleships are as good as ours, so I didn't want to send our battleships to attack his, even if we were using a shoot and scoop tactic, as it's likely I would take a little bit of damage. So we deployed our main fleets to hunt down his submarines, which were separated, and you can see that right now. We're going for a very traditional approach of using naval bombers to scout them out, hunt them down, then sending our destroyers up first. Because they aren't moving, because we have pretty much full control of the battle here and our destroyers are faster than his, we don't have to worry about sending subs in to tar pit them. Tar pitting would be pretty pointless at this point. and we wouldn't gain much, we just damage our own subs. So we're going to exploit the range our destroyers have to be able to bring these down relatively easily and with low casualties. So as you can see, destroyers are currently moving out in front, getting ready to attack. We're obviously separating them to preserve their speed and give them the ability to catch his subs, which are faster than our battleships and carriers. Coming back a little bit later on, as you can see, we are using our rockets once again to hit some targets. This time we're aiming for a large stack of South Brazil's artillery, which he has on the coast, protecting his ships. At this point, we were starting to get in relatively close and start to bomb them out ourselves. We can see that our ally has some of his own submarines in the region as well. Because he is not at war with either of the Brazilian players, he can get these in close without initiating combat. So he's acting as a scout while we send our battleships in and slowly dwindle him down. We're still relying mostly on rockets, so we can do this with as little casualties as possible. We would be sending our ships in a lot closer to do a lot more damage. However, the artillery on the beach is a massive issue. There's also railroad guns in those stack, which vastly outrange our own ships. So every time we move in to try sink those, we're getting slowly damaged by railroad guns. I'm all about preserving my units and reducing casualties. So for me, I'm going to take the long way out and work on this slowly. I'm hoping that by using rockets, I'll scare South Brazil into sending his troops away from the coast so he can preserve his own limited units. While this is happening, we're also building a hell of a lot of ships to keep up our naval power. At this point in the game, the only threat to us, especially from South America, is the Brazilian players that still hold massive navies. We needed to keep building those to ensure we had the ability to destroy their navies. In order to do this as well, we're also low on materials. We need to increase our production, and you can see that there, a lot of oil and a lot of rear to ensure we can continue producing ships and researching upgrades. So that's the last of the footage I have for these few days. I anticipate I'll probably be able to make one more video out of the remaining footage, and I guess I'll get to that when I get to it. Thanks for your patience, and I'll see you in the next episode.